If they do that, the Cougs will be very, 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 very tough to beat.
Off the window, no! Roberts tried to get it. Shed for the win! Got it!
Kris with 14 points, but he just looked, the way that he dominated the game was in controlling the pace and making smart decision after decision.
Coleman, 5, slammer down.
Go to pizza spot before or after.
The dream is alive for Houston. Go Cougs! Let's go!
Welcome into another episode of Let's Rage Coogs presented by the Saxenian Family, and a big thank you to Star Pizza for being a sponsor on today's episode of Let's Rage Coogs. Today's Let's Rage Coogs episode is brought to you by and powered by Star Pizza. Big thank you to Mike and Jennifer Pittman for hooking up the Let's Rage Coogs crew here inside of the Fertitta Center with some delicious Star Pizza. We're coming off the heels some a good game for the Houston Cougars, who the 17th ranked Cougars in the country, who came out and were able to, do what they were supposed to, impose their will on a Butler team in the Big 12 Big East Challenge, and came out victorious 79-51. They had some offensive struggles in that first half, but they were able to flip the script, put up 51 points in that second half, really led by LJ Cryer, who had 18 of his 20 points in that second half. But we'll get into the game specifics in a bit. Joining me, as always, Dayon. Dunlap, how you doing, sir?
And I'm doing well. Good Cougar performance. Happy. Always happier after a win.
Yes, sir. And let's get into that Houston Cougars win. And really, when we talk about this game, from the get-go, Houston, what was really noticeable from the beginning was how strong of defensive intensity they came out with. They held Butler to just 18 points in that first half, and it was a struggle for the Bulldogs to get anything up on the point, especially in the first 5 minutes of the game. Juwan Roberts came out aggressive on the glass. He had 6 rebounds in the first 5 minutes of the game, which was absurd. And JoJo Tugler, a move in the starting lineup, got moved up. He got 8 rebounds himself as well. And like I mentioned, it still seemed offensively Houston was kind of struggling in that first half, and they just flipped that switch in the second half.
It definitely did. I think the spacing was a little better in the second half, but that first half was kind of what we've seen all year as far as the offense, really inability to kind of find the rhythm and really just inability to kind of score. And spacing, I think, is a huge part of what I saw. But defensively, I mean, they look really well, but that's good to a Butler team who really couldn't handle their pressure and really didn't have any designated ball handler that can kind of beat their man off the dribble.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that, well, at least the differences between the first half and second half that contributed to Houston's success offensively. In the first half, Houston was really struggling to get inside the paint. There was a lot of perimeter shots taken, mid-range shots, and to credit, that was a different story. They were able to find a lot more success off the pick and rolls, getting into the paint. Milo Lusa and LJ Cryer did a great job being aggressive. Terrence Arsenal did a great job of being aggressive and attacking. And quite frankly, I think Terrence Arsenal in the first half was the lone consistent Cougars player that was able to get into the paint consistently, draw, finish through contact, and then it carried over. More players were able to do that in the second half, and that was a big credit to them being able to kind of turn things around. And then they did what they are known for. They were crashing the boards. They were holding Butler to a lot of one-and-done opportunities. And when they play good defense, turnovers was a little bit of an issue for Houston in that first half too. They had 8, which is what they had been averaging per game coming into this game. They were averaging 8 turnovers an outing, and they had 8 in the first half, and they only had 3 in the second half. So big change in that aspect, and that really led to the success that they had offensively and just in general in this game against Butler.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like you said with Terrence, that's a good point. I think today he seemed to really find his rhythm early, and he was able to get to his spots and create. I think some of his step back dribbles just get to some of his sweet spots, and he was able to make shots. But like you said, really just breaking down the defense and getting inside the paint. I think that was one of the big things. But I think just going forward, just kind of overview, I kind of expected them to do what they did today. I think second half was a good display more of offense and moving the ball. But I was kind of watching that rotation because something we talked about last time, and one of the first players Wilson didn't get much burn until the end of the game, and I think that was something I kind of saw because they need offense. They're going to need, especially getting close to the conference play, who can kind of put the ball in, who can create offense. How can they create offense? And I think that's something that this team will continue to try to figure out.
Yeah, most definitely. Like I said in that first half, that struggle when they went inside to their bigs, there's still something that for all three of their bigs, it still seems like they're struggling to just find their touch down low in the post. As Georgia defeated Texas in the SEC championship game. Sorry, I got sidetracked there for a second. It's on the big screens here in Fertitta Center. But yeah, I think that's something that it's been interesting that those three bigs in particular haven't really been able to find their offensive rhythm as of now. But one thing that they've really did really well, all three of them, and really when it comes to Juwan Roberts setting the tone, was being able to crash the glass, get the rebounds. Juwan Roberts, 12 rebounds in this game. JoJo Tugler with 8. Javier Francis only played 14 minutes. He had 4 himself. What you think of JoJo Tugler getting moved into the starting spot, and just in general when it comes to all three of those big men kind of, maybe not necessarily having their touch down low in the post yet?
I think it was well deserved. I mean, yeah, if you talk about players playing their way and earning their minutes, I mean, he's shown throughout this season that he's one of the better players and he deserves to be on the floor to start the game and even to finish the game. And so it was no surprise there. But like you said with Jaquan, I think his relentlessness and his aggression really kind of set the tone in his toughness. And Houston's going to need that against big games. It's one thing Kris asked for, and I echo that same sentiment. But today, he kind of looked like his normal self with getting those rebounds. I still think offensively wise, he's kind of a one-trick pony. He's shown that he can get to that right hand and can finish with it. He hasn't really been consistent with it, but against top-tier matchup, Houston needs a low-post threat. And so when you go with JoJo, I think Jaquan is that player that they're going to throw the ball in. He's shown he can do it at times, but they're going to need him to do it more consistently, especially against better competition with conference play. But I still think Javier is a player. I want to see him with JoJo more. I think with Javier, I think it's an equal low post score with Jaquan. It is a little better defensively with his ability to block shots and rebound.
One of the things that, again, attributed to success in that second half for Houston was just LJ Cryer and Emmanuel Sharp, Milo Suzan getting the ball to drop. What did you see from LJ Cryer in that second half? Really, it seemed like a lot. He was definitely much more aggressive in taking the shots. But at the end of the day, they were falling. That's going to be a big difference when in the second half they looked much better offensively because the shots were falling. But from my vantage point, it looked like LJ Cryer and was definitely much more aggressive and looking for that shot. And Cougars are on his best when he's got it going offensively.
Definitely. And I saw one of his quotes that he would kind of talked about throughout his career, just kind of paraphrasing how he had a point guard and realizing this is his first time he's been on a team where he has to step up vocally and how it's kind of uncomfortable, but he realized he has to do it. And today I think I seen him take a step forward on the court in realizing the task at hand and what he has to do with the ball in his hands and being aggressive, not only to score, but just kind of initiating the offense, breaking down the defense, getting inside the paint. And if he can continue to develop and do that, I think he can play his way into in the next level in the NBA. I think he could definitely play professionally somewhere. But I think if he can show that he can do that on ball, because he's one of the best 3-point shooters in the world. He could definitely catch it and shoot it at a high rate. I just think on the ball, I seen him take it. He looked more comfortable, more decisive in decision making. I really like what I saw from OJ today.
And one of the things that he really excels at is just being able to on the drive, jump stop on it. Like the way he jump stops and is instantly able to bounce up for a set shot is one of definitely an underrated skill set. It might be his best skill set that he has. And his ability to just create space to be able to get up a shot, whether on the drive or off a pick, off a screen, and then off a crossover. And that's something that was on full display in that second half. Now, when it comes to, again, one of the other players that really got going in the second half, Emmanuel Sharp, that was one stretch where we've seen this from Emmanuel multiple times over the course of his career here at Houston, but when he gets going, and he's in rhythm. It seems like he could shoot from anywhere from distance. And for stretches in this game against Butler, it seemed like he was just kept backing up, and he kept hitting his threes, which is good to see, especially after the past 3 games in Vegas, where it was a little bit of a struggle at times for him to get a shot. To see it going against the Bulldogs here tonight.
It was, but I mean, I see this from Emmanuel often, especially against teams that Houston is expected to beat. But it was good to see him get it off the dribble. I think that was one of the things that kind of impressed me today. He had a
Yeah.
few of them were off the dribble, the one catch and shoot. And I think as he gets comfortable and showing the ability to do that more, because he's just going to need more of that. But I like what I saw for him today. I just need more of that against different competition more consistently, being able to create shots and make shots. He's shooting 53% from 3 this year. I mean, that's unbelievable. And so if he can stay at least 50, around 40% with the amount of shots that he's going to get, I think, I mean, he can have an electric year. I think for him to take that next step, the sky's limitless of what he can do. I think he has the opportunity, just about seizing the moment and doing, I'm sure, what he's been practicing all his life and putting his complete game.
I'll real quickly like to take a moment and first thank each and every single person that has taken the time out of their Saturday evening here to join us for this episode of Let's Rage Coogs, presented by the Saxenian Family. And a big thank you to Star Pizza as well for not only being a sponsor on today's episode of Let's Rage Coogs, but also providing pizza here inside of the Fertitta Center. Once again, the final score from the Fertitta Center: Houston 79, Butler 51. When we look at the box score top to bottom, LJ Cryer, we mentioned earlier, he had 20 points. He had 3 assists himself as well. Milo Zuzan had 13, 3 assists, 2 rebounds. Something that's interesting, and it's still in this game, foul trouble for Milo Zuzan continued to be a problem in this game. Didn't foul out in this game, but he had 4, had to be taken out through multiple stretches in that second half. And honestly, it's one of the reasons why Terrence Arsenault was able to get a lot of shine in that second half. Emmanuel Sharp, 16 points. He was 6 for 10 from the field, 4-7 on his threes. And Terrence Arsenault, 14 points, 5 of 9 from the field, a perfect 4 for 4 from the free throw line. Let's talk about Milos a little bit, because there are stretches where it's evident that he's still trying to figure out how to play, not necessarily how to play in this Houston Cougar system, but just to make the right reads. There was a stretch in the first half where it was off the pick and roll. He had the defender on his hip, and his defender was behind him, and he was driving, and he had Javier Francis to his left, and he tried to pass it to him with his left hand. Wasn't the strongest pass, ended up being a turnover, and Kelvin got absolutely, he got angry at Milos in that scenario. He wanted him to shoot, but just really in that case, just not being aggressive when you have the defender on your back, forcing that big to have to come up, stop you before you can make that pass. And quite frankly, that's a pass that should be a lob for Javier Francis and kind of get offense that way. Maybe a way to get the big man going with an easy lob.
Right. And I saw a few more live opportunities where I think as the chemistry continues to build, they'll be able to get some of those easy buckets. But I mean, you're spot on right there with that. I think I agree with that assumption. But I think, I mean, the bigs, I think I liked JoJo's first half. He was decisive, got the ball a couple times on the block, made moves, went up and actually finished. If he can get some of those buckets now, I just need, I really want them to play a little faster. Because I think with their athletic ability and JoJo's being able to run, how he can run the floor, get up the court, and get the more shots that they can put up, the more chances to get offensive rebounds. And the way that they control the glass today, if you play a little faster, get a couple more shots up, a couple more chances to get offensive rebounds, I think that's chances for Houston to be at their best and crashing the glass and getting them. And sometimes they lead to threes. And so I think just playing a little bit more fast and being a little bit more aggressive and getting downhill and getting more shots up offensively so I don't have to execute and have court set every time down the court.
And Kris should join us in a few minutes. Kelvin Sampson's post-game press conference just finished, and I'll run this by him too when he hops on. But Dan, I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. Defensively, we know that Houston is known for double teaming really when anybody gets down low in the post area, but something I've noticed so far now that's going to be their identity is going to be with the defense that Houston runs. That's been the calling card for Kelvin Sampson's teams over the past 11 years. But I think I'm curious to get your thoughts. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but something that Butler did really well in this game was being able to get out of those traps and really find the open man on the weak side. And they got a lot of good threes, especially in that first half. So I'm curious to gauge your thoughts if that's something you picked up on. Maybe, again, something that Kelvin Sampson alluded to earlier in the week in the postgame and in the media availability leading up to this game is that there's still a lot of stuff that defensively they need to clean up. And I'd imagine that's one of them, but that led to a lot of three-point opportunities for Butler in that first half.
Yeah, but I think that's part of teams watching film as well and knowing that they have to prepare for Houston's defense and how they are aggressive with rotations and how you have to make that extra pass, like you said, to the corner and you can get those open looks. But I think I saw an adjustment with that is not so much of trapping or hedging the screens like they do, more switching because they have the ability to guard multiple positions as far as with their guards and they can switch. And so I saw more switching that way they don't have to necessarily rotate or risk that extra pass. But I think it's really, I just chalked it up to more teams preparing, knowing Houston's going to be aggressive. You're going to have to move the ball fast and make that extra pass, and it'll be there. And where you catch the defense in rotation and they're running to contest. And oftentimes, a couple times where they make the pump fake because they come into contest and they still get that wide open three. And so it's part defense and part times where Houston, where they can kind of clean it up a little better and be more prepared. But it's overall, I like the defense and the pressure that they had today, definitely.
Joe Mendez's comment here is something that I want to go back on for a second. He says Milos needs to stay on the floor, stop getting in foul trouble, but he'll adjust to it. And like I said a little while ago, is that again in this game didn't foul out, but still he was in foul trouble, got 4 fouls, and had to sit out stretches in the second half because of it. And something that I've noticed in this game in particular, there were a couple times where he'd kind of get beat off the dribble, and he'd obviously have to run back to catch up. And a lot of the fouls that he would get, it was either he was late and he'd foul him with his body, or in one instance, I think it was when he picked up his 4th foul, he put both of his hands on the person he was guarding, and that was an easy call for the officials to make. So curious to get your thoughts on what you think about Milos's foul issues the past really 4 games that he's played, and if that's something that he still needs to adjust in terms of how Houston, the defensive system they run, or what are your thoughts on that?
I think I don't know if most of it's just the whistle, man. It just isn't going in his favor. I don't necessarily think maybe he's too aggressive what he's doing. I think it's just the way of the whistle. Maybe and sometimes he can keep his hands in and not reach it and not give the referees a chance to blow that whistle. He can just play more cleanly. But overall, I can't really say much about the fouls because it isn't like he's trying to foul, so you can't tell the player stop fouling. Maybe being more conscious and reaching and putting yourself in a position where referees can call a foul, and sometimes he does that. Well, maybe reaching, trying to get a steal, and just in good position, just play good, clean defense. Let's get the ball and let's run. And so I think with that aspect, he just trust the system, trust what they've practiced, and really not so much reach or give the referees a chance to blow the whistle. Offensively, one of the times up court that I can remember was, I think it was off a steal. He got it, and it was almost 1-on-3, but he attacked the defense and made it 1-on-1, and he actually attacked to score, and he scored. And that was a good telling sign for me. Okay, now he's being aggressive. Let me attack the defense in the open court 1-on-1 and get my chance to score. And he did that. So I want to see more of that from Milos.
And that's been something that he's done really well in his first 8 games here that he's played with Houston is I think, and this is something that I was a little bit, I have been surprised is how well he's been able to score for Houston in all 8 of those games, which, coming into the season, I don't know if that's something that we've, at least in my opinion and me personally, it wasn't something that I expected to him pick up right off the bat. And like you said, in this game, the second half, not just him, but again, LJ, Emmanuel, they did a better job at being aggressive and finding their shots. You can put Terrence Arsenal in there as well. But for Milos in particular, I mean, that's a great point. Those, when it comes to foul trouble, there are some that are ticky-tack, maybe not necessarily the strongest fouls, but at the end of the day, it's just a matter of putting yourself in better positions, and not put yourself in situations where it's easy for the official to blow the whistle and get in foul trouble. This is a great point by Ronald Brown. And again, going back to the first half offensive struggles, he says Houston does not get all the way to the rim, which something that I've noticed, and I had a conversation with Kris during the game, especially in that first half, something that they struggled with. And think back to last year, it was something that Houston did really well, and a big reason for that was because Jamal Shed was able to get all the way to the rim, and when they wouldn't allow him to get to the rim, that's when he was able to create the shot opportunities, those lobs for the bigs. That's something that Milos, LJ, and Emmanuel certainly need to get better at, and quite frankly, do it more consistently. And that's something that Terrence Arsenal did really well when he checked in and he played in his minutes.
And I think that's I want to really a mindset, because, like you said, I think that's more of an attention, having an intention to get downhill, and that's a great point because that's something they really do well. When LJ has it on the pick and roll, he's often in that same situation that Jamal would be in, but when Jamal comes off that screen, he's gonna attack the big to get downhill to the rim, where LJ comes off the screen with his little pity pat dribble to kind of read the defense. Do I do my mid range? Do I float it? Versus coming out with it with quickly and decisive, whether it's to get to the rim or put more pressure and getting right into a move. And so that's a great observation. But I think Milo said the same thing well. And Emmanuel, he isn't always looking to get downhill, but when he does, he can create contact and get to the line. So I want him to be a little bit more consistent and do it a little bit more, but it's not something we see often.
Looks like Chris Gardner's ready to join us from inside the Fertitta Center following Houston's 79-51 victory. Real quickly, like to thank once again our primary sponsor of today's episode of Let's Rage Coogs in the Saxenian Family. Big thank you to Steve Saxenian for being the primary sponsor not only of today's episode of Let's Rage Coogs, but he has been the primary sponsor of each and every single football and men's basketball post-game show for this 24-25 season. Of course, we also like to say thank you to Star Pizza with 3 locations throughout the Houston area. Star Pizza is your go-to spot before or after the game for really hot pizza that I'm staring at right now. Kris, I'll take you your slice in a bit because it is very tempting to just get it and start eating in the middle of the show. But again, big thank you to Jennifer and Mike Pittman for sending us some Star Pizza after the game. And that being said, Kris, first and foremost, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm gonna play a clip, the last few minutes of Coach Sampson's of the UH presser, and LJ and Milos Uzan were part of that as well. Coach has some interesting things to say about Milos, and Coach being Coach, he was not concerned. Well, he said he wasn't concerned about the early turnovers in the first half when they had like 7 and 12 minutes or whatever it was, and 8 at halftime, which is what they average basically for a game. But they only had 10 or 11 for the whole game, so they cut down the turnovers. Coach Sampson said that they didn't change much at halftime. They just made shots. They were more disciplined overall, did little things better in this game and in the second half, and that was the key to the game. And he said he started JoJo Tugler because JoJo had been the best player so far this season, and he wanted more on the boards and defensive presence, and that's what JoJo provided. So there you go there. So, Andy, you want to feed your face while I play this clip for about...
Yep. That's exactly what I was about to do, and I'll take you your slice as well. Everyone's eating Star Pizza here tonight and for Fertitta Center.
So, yeah, Dayon, brother, how you doing, man?
Doing good. I'm doing good. I mean, it kind of. I said the same thing as far as with JoJo. And they asked me. I mean, he's been the best player when Coach preaches, whoever plays the best, earn your minutes. He's earned it.
So
Exactly what I
yeah.
said.
So here
I'm
we go
ready to
here.
hear it.
Yeah, there we go.
If this team had played last year's schedule, we'd be 8-0 too. So what does that mean? I don't care about the schedule. I mean, I don't care about the record. I could care less about what our record is. All I care about is, are we getting better? We're a better team right now today than we were at any point the last 3 weeks. And tomorrow's film session and walkthrough and then the practice on Monday and the game Tuesday, it's important to keep taking a step forward. I have no interest in talking about the past. For what? What purpose does that? I mean, exactly what is it you're trying to say with that? Transitions in life usually occur. More positive transitions occur because you learn something, either by success or failure. They're all good for you. Nate Oates is another good friend of mine. I was talking to him out in Vegas, and he was talking about the schedule last year, and they lost 5 games. We lost 3. They lost 5. They went to the Final Four. So what difference does it matter? So many people have a football mentality. Like you lose a game, you lose 1 game, you're out of 50 bowl games. You lose 2, now you can't play in 50. There is no penalties in basketball as long as you have a solid program that's built on the right things. And this program has proven itself over time. And that's why we're able to have a performance like today after what we've been through now for since November 4th. We're a much better team today on December 7th than we're on November 7th. And that's all I've ever cared about. Along the way, you're going to step in a ditch now and then. You're going to have a fender bender. Go coach for 36 years and see how that feels. Doesn't matter. Get your team right. Get them right. Keep going. I'm blessed with great kids, and I love coaching them. Losing probably bothers others more than it bothers us.
Kelvin, are you finding different ways to use Milos and sets to get him?
No, I'm still learning him. I purposely coached him harder this week than anybody else because I know him the least. And part of a coach's responsibility is to find out what a young man's level is and find a way to get the most out of his ability. I think that's, if you ask Milos, that's probably one of the reasons why he chose to come here. He wanted to be challenged to the point where he could find out. He's a much better player today than he was a month ago. And I think he'll be a better player a month from now than he is today, because I'm going to keep challenging him. It's not easy being good, man. It's not easy. The 3 teams that we've lost to, I think we're every bit as good as any of those teams, but not the night we played them. They were better than us. And even though we could have won all those games, we didn't.
Once again, that was Houston Cougars head coach Kelvin Sampson. So really in that clip, that's a testament to how Kelvin Sampson, really how he sets his culture. One, he reiterated what we've heard for the past, well, at least me speaking personally, for the past 5 years. Kris, I'm sure you've heard it for the past 11 years. Their goals is constantly about improving, right? They're better today, December 7th, than they were November 7th, and then challenging his players. And that's going to be the big thing from now until whenever the end of the season is for this Houston Cougars team, is constantly finding ways to get the best out of his players. And whatever he told them in the locker room in the second half, he said that he didn't say a single word to LJ Cryer, but as a team, whatever he told them, clearly it sparked something when it came to just the overall success that they had, both offensively. I think the biggest thing offensively, besides just the points, was just the 3 turnovers that they only the 3 turnovers they committed in the second half compared to the 8 that they had in that first half. Like you pointed out during the game, Kris, that was their season average, and they got in the first half.
Yeah, and also I asked Milos. He mentioned that he is comfortable in the offense, getting more comfortable in the offense. Coach Sampson said he's when Los is on the bench, foul trouble, rest, whatever. He's giving the ball, putting the ball in LJ's hands. He's giving LJ more freedom in the offense to do more things. And LJ likes that. And Coach also touched on how much he does trust LJ to make the right decisions as a good decision maker. No one's perfect, but he trusts LJ to do the right things. But he is giving him more freedom with the ball in his hands. So those are all positive things. And overall, 5-3 now. We can nitpick, and we have on these shows. They're going to get better. They have the potential to get better. What I liked, the last 30 points that scored in the game were LJ, Emmanuel, and Terrence. So that's a positive. Coach Sampson said he played Terrence more in the second half today because he could, because John Houston, the trainer, the shaman, felt that Terrence could get more minutes in the second half and play longer. So that's a positive going forward. So Terrence could be an untapped diamond. The healthier he gets and more minutes he can play, his offensive skill set is a boost to this team.
Yeah, and it seems like Kelvin has more trust in him. Even in the second half, we saw a lot of more. I don't even say we can call them actions, but there were certainly a lot more situations where they got the ball to him, they all cleared out. They just let Terrence go 1-on-1, and he converted.
Yeah. And that was good. Some 1-on-1, some clear outs for him. And Terrence, some folks want to see the big man be the low post option.
Oh,
Terrence can post up his man.
Mm-hmm.
He can back down his guy a lot. So you don't have to be the 6'9" guy to score in the low post. If you got the skills to do it, back your guy down at 6'6" and do it, Terrence can do that at 6'7". So that's a positive and another option that this team can utilize going forward.
And he's a mid-range assassin. He can
Yes.
be. I think at his peak, he can really be that, like a la Kawhi Leonard. And he's shown his ability, like he did, to create space, some of those step backs, and get to that mid-range and get inside. And I think one of the great things that you said is, Chris, and I noticed he played more in the second half. If he can do that, get to where he can get ready to close games, I think that'll brighten Houston's chances anymore. Because, like you just said, their top three guards all played well. And if you can have that with Terrence on the floor more in that second half, I think it'll give Houston even a better chance to kind of close games and in conference play as they continue to get better.
In Milo's second half, he was more aggressive offensively, unfortunately defensively too, because some of his fouls were his fault. With two hands on his man, the ball handler. But he kept the ball alive in the paint more. LJ kept the ball alive in the paint more. And you can see it. They called pretty much the same play. Middle action, once they had the pin down, and whoever was guarding LJ or Milos or Emmanuel on the trail, they were behind him. So they were already stuck. LJ kept his ball alive, got into the paint. Los kept his ball alive, got into the paint. Either looked to score, which Dayon is happy with, I'm assuming, because Milos is more aggressive, looking to score in the second half, which is a positive. So there's little things we saw in the second half. It might be. The defense may not be as great with this year's team, but the potential on offense on this year's team, I think, could be higher than previous years for the Cougar teams.
Which is
to me, the offense is the struggle.
It is a struggle. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, okay. I get what you're saying. I think defensively, with their versatility, this can be one of the better defensive teams once they put it together. But offensively, I don't see it. But I think, like you said, though, to your point, too slow.
Yeah.
The spacing isn't well, and they don't have that guy who can create off the dribble. Because you need one of those. You need someone who can create. Terrence is one of them and can do it consistently. And I think, like we just mentioned, to the points, until you can get to that point where he can close games and play more minutes, he can be that go-to guy.
And also with 3 games of non-conference games left, really looking at the players that play the bulk of the minutes, it'd be interesting to see if this is kind of what Calvin's rotation ends up being laid down the stretch. But the 9 that played the most: LJ Cryer, Milos Uzan, JoJo Tugler, Jawan Roberts, Emmanuel Sharp, Ramon Walker, Javier Francis, and Terrence Arsenal. thoughts on those being the guys that got the bulk of the minutes tonight against Butler?
I was glad to see Ramon get more minutes. I think what he provides, just the toughness, the hustle, all those little things he can provide. I like that. Ramon getting probably 12 to 15 minutes a game, I think is a plus for the team.
Yeah.
I still want to see Mercy get more minutes. He got 5 minutes. He did well. Some rebounds. He
4 points, 3 rebounds in those 5
hit
minutes.
another baseline jumper out of bounds timeout play. That seemed like Mercy's in the game after on an out of bounds. Mercy's going to curl around and get a bucket on baseline pick. That's like a bread and butter play for the Cougs, looks like. So, but I want to see more from him.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to see more for him too, but I definitely like Ramon in the lineup for all that he brings. That now watching it, he's really the only few players who's getting those charges. Like
Yep.
he's gonna put his
Yeah.
body on the line, he's gonna step up. But not only that, he brings versatility on the perimeter. And he can stretch the floor and shoot the basketball. I wouldn't say he's a shooter, but you gotta respect the shot, at least close out on it.
So, and Coach said it, he said it specifically about Milos, but he also said it, he's still learning this team. He's learning his players and all these guys and the transition that they're making health-wise with talking about Javier and JoJo and Terrence. But, Milos is still figuring it out. Coach still figuring out Milos. That's why I say offensively, this team still has potential and room for improvement going forward.
Looking ahead, Houston has a little bit of a quick turnaround. They play again December 10th, this upcoming Tuesday. They're back in the Fertitta Center. They'll play Troy, which you won't hear that from Kelvin Sampson or any of the players. But I mean, it's another game where, from the outside, we can say it, right? That's a game that they should obviously not only are expected to win, but maybe one where
it's another get right game.
Exactly. For the lack of a better phrase. And hopefully that's a game where they can use to really continue to find their offensive identity and for, Milos, for Terrence to continue to find their offensive rebound and get, confidence is probably not the right word, but being able to be attacking more consistently and get that confidence in being able to attack and get to the teeth of the defense.
And that's important. It's important. It's a key when you have your defender behind you to finish out the play with the possession attacking the paint. Because if you can draw your teammates defender to you.
Yep. Have a good night.
One thing I want to see more and more is some alley-oops. I mean, I think especially in the first half, there were some missed opportunities on those pin downs, and LJ, Milos,
Andy talked about that. Yep.
Lobs right there, man. There's some lobs to JoJo and Jay, I think at least 2 or 3 times a game.
And Kris, do you think that just comes with time, being able to recognize, get more comfortable, or what do you think needs to happen for us to see?
I think it's I'm sorry, I know Kris is going to answer this question, but I think it's time. But I also think it's trust and a vision. It's a natural feel for a point guard to naturally do it. So it's not so much of trusting those things, because it's natural for Dayon and Jamal to come off their screen and make their timely attack just a little bit to draw off the center and throw the lob. So it's kind of hard to pinpoint it, but it's a feel. I would say it's a feel. What would you say, Kris?
Yeah, fair. Very good point. Fair. That's why I kind of expect more from Los to do that than LJ, because Los is more of a point guard than LJ is, and I just want him in H-Town. The comment here is that he's still doing that. I know what Los said post game is that he's very comfortable in the offense. To me, and I think folks watching, he is still thinking too much on the floor.
Yeah, and that instance in the first half, like we saw that you mentioned, Kris, where he had his defender on his back, on his hip, and he didn't drive all the way to force the big that was guarding Javier Francis to come and pick him up. He tried to dump that pass and ended up as a turnover.
To me, that was like a no-brainer lob attempt right there. I think Javier was expecting it as well, because the pass kind of behind him, because he's attacking, going to the rim, expecting a lob pass to finish with a dunk. Little things like that. just iron out those things. And I know Butler is not Auburn, and I know all the the opponents make a difference. All those things, we understand all that.
But
The point is,
these get right games, it's the times to
right,
to,
it's
to
time to
get that
get
feel.
that
It's
feel.
like you
Yes,
said, yeah, that one extra step to draw them and throw that lob. Trust
yeah.
it. I mean, you can do it in practice. I'm sure it's there. Like it's clear as day. I seen it, and it was a few times.
And it was
But
good.
one of the plays, I'm sure you saw, Chris, that live was open court. I forgot who got the steal, but Milo's got it quickly. Almost 1-on-3. He attacked the defense to make it 1-on-1 and finish in the open court. More, I need to see more of that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Little things like that. He's got to do that. I think he will do it, trusting his teammates more. I mean, he's being more aggressive in practice, so that's a positive. Hopefully, he'll take that and bring it onto the games.
Kris, what are your thoughts on the big man for Houston? And we talked a little bit about JoJo Tugler and what he brought to the table starting this game. But Juwan Roberts, 12 rebounds, didn't have the offensive success, at least not.
What'd you see from Jawan? Can we go there, Andy? What'd you see from Jawan, the big man? Yeah. Good call.
Yeah.
Rebounding was good.
Clearly a point of emphasis past week.
For sure. I don't. He's still, his defense, his rotations. It's just there's too many times so far this season where he seems to be out of position. Talking about Juwan Roberts, he seems to be out of position. He's not on the same page with his teammates on some of the rotations. Some of the passes that Butler got, some of the attacks off the monster traps. He just seems to be almost doing things on his own rather than what his teammates are doing. And as he's been here forever, I don't expect that from him. I expect things like that from, like Cedric Lott, somebody, a youngster, not a man who's been in 6 years,
What about offensively?
He hasn't had touch on his jump hooks. His jump hooks today were like line drive bricks.
And a lot of the bigs, their touch is just off.
Yeah.
Javier as well. Javier, I think I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was Javier. Or it was Javier where he turned to his right. He threw a hook and
he rushed. He had another dribble on him. He could have dunked that.
Yeah.
He gave up on the dribble and then tossed up something like he wasn't expecting it.
But the difference between the two is Javier shows the confidence to go between both hands. J1, he's trying to get to that left. He's showing it. He'll go to the right. But that's why I want to see JV. In my opinion, I trust coach, but I want to see the JV and JoJo a little more because from J1 defensively, like we said before you got on, he was himself attacking the glass, setting the tone with the culture, attacking the glass, offense, doing all those tough things. But when you throw it to him on the block, it ain't.
It's not there. But
it's not there.
I thought about you. Second half, I think it was Milos, one of Milos, LJ, man, whoever penetrated and kicked it back out to Juwan at the 3-point line. Juwan didn't even look to the hoop and got a track start and traveled. And I'm like, not even being a threat to take the jump shot.
It's almost as a practice shot. It's a game you're gonna win. That's just confidence right there. That's why I love JoJo so much. He's like, I practiced this. You think I'm gonna get in the game? I'm not gonna practice it? What? And that's why I'm like, okay, we're showing that, and he can do everything athletically that J1 can do, but more. I would think, me personally, I just want to see a little bit more of JVR and JoJo. That length, the protection at the rim, the rebounding will be a little bit better. And I think on the low block, he can give you what J1 can give you, but a little bit more options, I think.
We'll see. Coach, he said it again that Javier was out 20 days, so maybe he's still working on his conditioning and getting back in Cougar basketball shape, which is different than regular basketball shape. So
I think you can kind of see it too. They've kind of held them to around like the same minutes for the last few games that he's played. It always seems like he's around that 13 to 17 minute range the past few games.
And this dunk, the dunk that Juan had right before halftime, it came from Milos getting into the paint, breaking down the defense, keeping the dribble alive, and then bounce pass to Juwan. Need to see more of that. It wasn't a lob, but it still ended up as a dunk.
An easy shot to get him going.
Yep.
You get your bigs in offensive rhythm, and then that unlocks a whole nother aspect of your offense.
But, the rebounding was good to see from Mr. Roberts. He was aggressive, 2 rebounds. That was good to see. But I'm going to go there with this. It was Butler. Okay. I want to see him do the 12 boards against Kansas and Baylor and Iowa State and the big boys in the Big 12. That's what I want to see.
Well, that being said, we can start to wind things down on this edition of Let's Rage Coogs. We'd like to take a moment to once again thank our sponsors, beginning with Steve Saxenian for being the primary sponsor of today's episode of Let's Rage Coogs, as he has been all season long for both football and men's basketball throughout the 24-25 athletic season. Of course, we also like to say thank you to Star Pizza for being another sponsor on this edition of Let's Rage Coogs. And I'm gonna do this, and hopefully the pizza don't fall off the box. But Star Pizza, 3 locations throughout the Houston area. Star Pizza is your go-to stop before or after the game. And like everybody here, Kris can attest, has been fed very well with some pizza with multiple slices. So be sure to stop by any one of the 3 locations or check them out online at starpizza.net, where you can see their menu, you can order online, and they really pride themselves on getting you pizza hot as can be, which I can, again, personally speak to. It was like if it had just come out of the oven when I first took a bite out of this pizza when I first got it in the Fertitta Center. So be sure to go stop by any one of the locations and tell them that you heard about them on Let's Rage Coogs. Kris, Dayon, any final thoughts on this game and looking ahead? Like we mentioned, again, I'm just looking at the stats top to bottom. It's very easy to tell just on the stat sheet what the point of emphasis for Houston was over the past week when it comes to practices. Defense, rebounding. They out-rebounded Butler 41-22. They went back to winning the offensive rebounding battle. And really, this was a game that I know it was a 10-point game at halftime. And, Butler, I think they got it as close to 6 right before halftime. But for the most part, it looked like Houston was in control just because of how well defensively they played the Bulldogs.
Oh, yeah. The Cougs turnovers kept Butler in the game in the first half. The defensively, Butler didn't get anything they wanted. The Cougs defense overall was on point, was locking up the Bulldogs, except for the turnovers. And to cut down those, then the offense got on track in the second half. So, not ironically, but factually, Houston's win evens up the series, the Big 12 Big East battle 5-5, which is probably a black eye for Commissioner Brett Yormark, since Big 12 is the best basketball conference in men's basketball, not this year. That is the SEC. But good win for the Cougs. Another get right chance on Tuesday. Fine-tune some things, tweak some things. I like JoJo starting. I like what he brings. I like Terrence getting more minutes in the second half, being healthy enough to get those minutes in the second half. But I want to ask Dayon on air, brother, when are you going to be down here for a home game so we can get some of this pizza, man, from Star Pizza?
Real soon. Next weekend game, book it. I'll be there. Next weekend game, book it.
Because I feel bad. I'm like, we eating all this pizza, but man, ain't had none yet. But yeah, Star Pizza, and got a shout out, Star Pizza and Mike doing a great job. He's also supporting the Houston Round Bar Review and being one of those businesses that's in the new Round Bar Review business directory. So another way to support me and all of everything that we're doing here on Let's Rage Coogs. Solid win. Butler is a good team. They're a solid team. But it's a good win. The final score wouldn't indicate that. But it was great to see the offense get on track. You saw, what was it? Los got double-figure points. Terrence got double-figure points. LJ got it going. Emmanuel got hot 3-point range, hit some deep threes. But this offense, they play faster. I think you can see they really get it going point-wise. Mm-hmm. So that's something I think they just need to emphasize more. Just play faster. Those curls and pin downs, it's there. Especially in teams who are in drop coverage with their bigs, take advantage of that. take advantage of it all day.
Agreed. To this point, I definitely agree. I just think it'll help. I mean, it'll affect the spacing, but I think with 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 a scoring threat offensively on the block, I just my point is JVR can give you the same what Jodo can give you, but I think defensively it'll make a meaningful point. But I definitely agree with you for sure. But everything like Kris said, I think it's a good win. Um, Team is getting better, like Coach Sampson said. I mean, they're better than last week. I think they'll be better in the next game. I'm looking forward just to see this team continue to grow, and I'm excited for this year. I think this team is limitless because they have the record that they have, and they lost to the team that they lost, but they could have won those games, and that just shows to
And
how
not
good
playing
this
well.
team not
Yeah.
playing well. So just think, it's you continue to develop and grow and get better. I think this team is gonna it has a chance to be really good. It can reach all of their goals, and I'm excited. As always, man, let's go Cougs.
Well, I mean, that's gonna
Oh,
do it for
go ahead.
today's episode of Let's Rage Coogs.
Have one bad.
No, you're good. Once again, the final score from inside the Fertitta Center, Houston, 17th ranked. Houston comes out on top, 79-51. Like I said earlier in the show, the next game will be on Tuesday, December 10th, inside of the Fertitta Center when they take on Troy at 7 p.m. On this upcoming Tuesday. Kris, I'll toss it over to you. Where can people find you? And any final thoughts as I take another bite of the Star Pizza?
Oh, see, you just tossed it to me because you wanted to eat. That's all that was. But yeah, HoustonRoundBarReview.com, Houston Roundbar Review on social media platforms. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, your comments and questions. Thank you to Star Peaches. Thank you to the Saxenian family for their support. And always keep this in mind. Never forget it. The Houston Roundbar Review since 1994. Local name, global perspective.
Always and over, like Kris says, we're steady growing and potentially have some new additions coming here in the future. So always stay locked into what we got going. Thank you to all our sponsors, Start Pizza, the Saxenian family. Go Cougs.